Welcome home to the garden you never left. You're home. You're home. You can only leave this, so to speak, in imagination. All of this is free already. So free, it's appearing as a you and a me. You are so free. You're pretending you're bound. What a play of light. So welcome to this space. Gotta say, first off, I'm not a teacher. I'm just a mirror. So everything you'll hear today is you. It's yourself. It's just in a different appearance. So everything is an appearance. It's not solid. It's not real like we think it is. This is simultaneously here and not here. This is formlessness appearing as form. This is what the human mind wants to call God or divinity, appearing as this. So what we call enlightenment is an absolute myth. No person reaches something called enlightenment. You could say there's only enlightenment that appears as a person. There's only God, there's only liberation, and it is appearing as this, which could be comfortable or uncomfortable. So non-duality is not selling a higher or better experience. And when this is seen by no one, it doesn't mean your life will be better, because that's kind of the fable that the mind feeds itself, so to speak, is, well, if I get this, if I get what Anna has or so-and-so has, or I reach enlightenment, well, I won't have taxes. I won't have to feed my children, or I'll just walk on water and everything will be a breeze. Well, there can be a deepening and relaxation and a dropping of tension and neurosis, but I gotta say, there's still bills. They're still chopping wood, carrying water, AKA they're still going to work or rearing children or baking bread. So there won't be a change, not like the mind thinks there is, because there isn't time. Change can only appear in the illusion of time, seemingly. So there won't be some massive shift or an event like we're kind of sold in religion and spirituality, like the next full moon, the next eclipse, when your vibration's higher, when you've meditated long enough, when you've bowed deep enough to the gurus, then you will be there. Or the most beautiful one, which is you're going to wait for grace. Grace is what's going to come for you, which means there's some that get it and some that don't, so to speak. And what we're really saying here is there is only grace that is appearing. But it's not like the grace we're sold and spoon-fed in religion and spirituality, where it's all goody, goody, goody all the time. What we're speaking about here is the darkness and the light, suffering or non-suffering, comfortable, non-comfortable, deep, crazy personality, or an introvert wallflower. All of it is the one source appearing as a myriad of expressions. So there cannot be a right or wrong way to be. Only when one feels separate does that seem to be. And of course, that's not wrong. Seeking is not wrong. I'm not here to say you're doing something wrong or you need to change. We're only confirming and celebrating that which is already the case, which is that this is heaven, this is paradise, pretending. We are literally so free, we pretend to be bound. And so I can't give you what you are. I can't. That would be arrogance. I don't know more than you either. So you already are the wholeness, the totality, and the freedom you seek. It's just this will never be known mentally. It's utterly intuitive. And intuition is primordial. It's prior to the idea of time and who you are. It's here now. It's what's peering through the eyes. It's what breathes breath. However, the dream is, no, I'm looking through those eyes and I'm breathing the breath. That's the illusion, which is neither right nor wrong. It's just what seems to be happening, seems to be appearing. And so today we're going to play, so to speak. We're going to bounce off of each other intuitively with questions or anything you'd like to express. But I got to say, there's no final truth. There is no final answer. So feel free to ask a question or not. They aren't needed, but they're welcomed. Yeah, go ahead. You could unmute yourself or ask in the chat box.
Hi there. My name is Mette. It's very nice to meet you finally.
Hi, nice to meet you too. Yeah.
Yes. I'm not sure about a question, but I've been experiencing a lot and seeing a lot of untruth in the experience. And there is this residue within me that what you said about you expect something. And I noticed there is this expectations because I like my body, my person feels like really, really miserable, and it seems to become more and more. And when I speak or write about it, I'm aware. And then it poof. It seems like not important. But I wish maybe you have anything to say about that.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's an oscillation, which that arose here in the story of Anna from a very young age, right? Like seeking and then it just dropping spontaneously. But there's no choice in that. You're not choosing to do that, and it's not your fault. It's just naturally arising, kind of like an allergic reaction. You know what I mean? It's just happening by no one's fault. But as you can probably sense and see, it looks like a process. But there's already something that's not a thing that's there, that's aware that it's not as heavy. Things are arising, but there's not a stickiness like it used to be where it's like completely taken over. There's a little bit of space, so to speak. Now, in the story, in what appears to be time, it can look like there's a process of kind of a pullback, like there's an observer that's watching these things happen, and it feels like there's a distance. Now, that will collapse into a seamlessness where there's no longer a pulling away from body or minding the oscillations or the dance, because that dance is the beloved. That dance is totality dancing as that. It's the total manifestation of the yin yang. We won't ever get rid of being human. We will never get rid of the natural emotions, but what stops arising is neurosis because it's connected to time. But for a lot of beings, the one little fallacy they hang on to is, I shouldn't feel this way. This is still too human to be enlightened. But life only wants to be that. That's why it's appearing. Otherwise, it wouldn't be. And so this is nothing like we're sold and told. My goodness, you know, because we're told it's this really super awesome special thing, and we put it on a pedestal and we never can reach it. But we are the treasure chest. Yeah.
Yeah, I never had this illusion, luckily, about the way it had to be or something. I just everything led me to like this.
Right, and it may not even be aware. It can be so deep. It can be so deep, you know, of this kind of what we would call a conditioning or a program.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like the herd mentality, so to speak. You know, it's like it's a mechanic. It's like it's just happening. Why is
it keeps coming because there's probably a lot to need to come up and go away. Yeah.
but there actually isn't anything that needs to go away. But if that's what's arising, it doesn't mean anything. That's the one thing to know, is there actually is no meaning to anything at all. No emotion has any definition to it.
No.
You see?
No, it just seems so that way because you put like words to it and make something out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So all I can confirm is that is liberation appearing as that. And there can be a slight manipulation that's still in there, right? Even if it's refined, like you're an observer, it's refined. There's still a person there that's micromanaging of, well, that shouldn't be there, or feeling miserable shouldn't arise. There's still like a position or a stance. And what we're saying here is those positions completely collapse, and the body could feel miserable, but it's not personal. There can be physical suffering. It's not personal anymore. So what we're speaking about is that commentary, that deep labeling and projection of what this is, because actually we don't know what any of this is. We just think we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's everything is kind of a knock on the door, so to speak. Like it's this too, and it's that. It's the achy back. It's gratitude. It's babies. It's coffee. It's crankiness. But if we have an idea of what divinity is, oh, it can't be any of those things, and I'm not going to be okay until they're gone.
Yeah, it's like you want to keep control, or something in you doesn't want to let totally let it go, like
Totally.
Yeah.
But you know what the good news is? There actually has never been control.
No.
So that's why there won't be a change. But the idea of I'm in control and did I do the right thing? The guilt, the shame, and the insecurity, those fizzle away because that's just imaginary. The person is only imaginary, and what we call our world is really only imaginary.
Yeah, and how then did you, like, it seems one of the hardest parts to really be true to that. It's like your person wants to take over all the time, and you see it happening, or something sees it happening, and you can laugh about it or cry about it, it doesn't matter. Did that shift for you? Like, did you really, because sometimes I feel that my nature is so far away of the conditioning, the step seems,
Well, here's this, is who you really are is appearing as conditioning.
Yeah.
You see, what we really are is like the wind. You see, it really has no quality to it. It's qualityless, but it can appear as a quality. It appears as form.
Yeah.
But nothing in form, including these words, will ever define you.
No.
Yeah. So we can't mentally know what we are, because in order to do that, we would have to step outside of ourselves to observe it. That would be the experience of duality. So that's why I say it's an intuitive recognition. You see, like the cat and the cow, they don't need to know that they're a cat and a cow. They don't need to practice that. They're just catting and cowing. Moo, 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 moo.
Great.
Yeah. And this is life appearing as Anna. And tell me again how you pronounce your name.
Mette.
Mette. And that's just what it wants to appear as. We are no different than the trees or the birds and the bees. It's all radical wildness appearing kind of conservative. It's really not, though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nikki, please go ahead, and then we have Amy next.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
So I'm at a space where I'm kind of at a space where if something that I'm experiencing causes me to feel, I don't know, like a sadness or a trigger, or I have like this expectation. So for instance, the other day, my sister said something about my belief in God. That's another conversation that I want you to talk to me about as well, is God. But I actually am now detaching from that and observing the emotion and going, okay, so I'm experiencing it, and it's okay to experience it because I am here to experience life and as a human being, I guess, which is where I'm at mentally. And then detaching from it and going, okay, that's okay, but also inquiring as to why I felt that emotion, and then getting more learning and knowledge and wisdom on that from my past to be able to let it go, to detach, to then just go, okay, well, that's what was, and then I can move forward from that. Is that?
Well, that is exactly the description of what it feels like to be separate and on a path. But there is absolutely no path to this. It only appears as an illusory path. It's a paradox. So there's nothing wrong with spiritual practices or self-inquiry, but it actually doesn't bring you closer to this. There's only this appearing as self-inquiry. So you're biting your own tail. So there's nothing wrong with healing or therapy or psychology or anything. If one feels separate, that's actually the wisest thing to do. It makes sense. But really, they're kind of like band-aids or lollipops until the seeing, so to speak, until the ding, the click, if you will, because it's already this. So why we're meditating or trying to dig up our past, that's already freedom. There actually isn't a past, nor a future, nor a present moment. There is only this unknowable perfection that appears as time. Time is an appearance. It's not linear like we think it is. The mind makes it seem linear, but it's an optical illusion. This is a rising and falling similar to an in and out breath. It's not really moving. It appears to be.
So how do you move through life then as that?
Again, this is why it's so hard to teach. It can't be taught. There's no you who's moving through time. There's only timelessness appearing as time. So the fallacy is I am separate and I have free will and choice to reach this thing called enlightenment. And what we're saying here is that's an illusion. It's not real. Because who we think we are is a train of thought forms, beliefs, imaginations, goals, hopes, and desires. What we're speaking about here is prior to that, so to speak. It can arise as desires and goals. It doesn't really give a shit, though, so to speak, because it's already fulfilled. It's already whole. The dream is I'm not fulfilled. So this goal is going to bring me fulfillment. Liberation will bring me fulfillment. This drug, this lover, this new hat will bring me fulfillment for a little bit. And then I'm on to the next. What's the next high? So really what we're speaking about here is seeking is an addiction. Because this is never enough. This is never it. And what we're saying is this is it. This is where it hides. And that doesn't mean goals go away. Chop wood, carry water. But now the goals are not so important. They're seen through. It's seen this as a complete illusion. So everything we put on a pedestal completely collapses. So this can actually be horrible for the seeker. Because it lives in future projection, hope. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel I'm now living more in the now than I've ever lived. Like right in the now, it's like just even the birds seem louder. Like in every moment, everything just seems like now.
Oh, there's an aliveness. Yeah. Fresh, refreshed. Everything's new. Yeah. It's like a natural beginner's mind. But if there's an itch or an appearance to seek or to know, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Those will play out until it's seen. My God, I'm trying to know something that can't be known. I'm trying to grasp something that can't be grasped. Because it's already itself. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like everything I've learned, because my story was I was asleep and then I woke up and then I reprogrammed my mind and then I let go and then I became, and then it was just like, oh, the next thing and the next thing, and then just spending like hundreds of thousands and thousands on retreats and workshops and and now I feel like I'm here, which is why I said yes to this, because I'm like, this is it. This is it.
Yeah. And if the character is drawn to those things, it just kind of plays out until it stops, you know? Just kind of like we're done with cookies when we're done with cookies. Or whatever habit, so to speak. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you.
Amy, please go ahead.
Hi, Anna.
Hi, Amy.
Hi. I just wanted your take really on, there's a sticking point here over points of view, whether there's a trillion billion points of view going on in one moment or just one point of view. And it just, I don't know what your take on that is, because it kind of, I feel that's quite a frightening thing, because you hear these kind of catch phrases like all one, all alone and things like that. And I just wanted your take on where there's billions of points of view. And yeah.
Well, there's one single source, which is really nothing, appearing as something. But you could say perception's the veil, because perception's personal. It's based on beliefs and conditioning, right? If someone was conditioned in poverty, they tend to have a filter that seems a little more in a lack base than someone that was raised in wealth. Okay, so perception can be based on conditioning. So what we're talking about is beyond perception, but appears as that. So of course, obviously, this appears differently than what seems to appear there. Right? You may be a mom, you may be a soccer coach, you may be, I don't know, in PTA, whatever's going on there. The characters obviously are diverse, right? But what gives life and animation to these characters is one, but I'd rather say none. Because if we have one, we can go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is zero appearing as this. Absolutely nothing appearing as everything. Simultaneously, it's a seamlessness, kind of like a quilt. You know, if you've ever seen a quilt, where I'm from, there's a lot of quilts. I'm actually in like Mecca center of quilts here, where I live in Missouri. But a quilt is like a huge blanket that has all these patchworks on it, right? And it's one blanket, but there's all these different patterns and spectrums and flavors on it. One thing appearing as these myriad of expressions. It's actually seamless. This is seamless. The mirage, the fable is there is actually duality. Duality doesn't exist. That's why we can't collapse it. So that's why beings will come and they'll say, Anna, I can still talk to my mom on the phone. Obviously, there's not oneness yet. No, that's an appearance. It's a play of light. It's Leela. That won't end. What ends is the need to control, manipulate, and change. Really what we're speaking about is the end of the need to change. Change can appear. It's the end of the need for it, so to speak. So I kind of went down another alley there, but feel free to go.
No, that's beautiful. No, that was No, that was absolutely beautiful. That quilt image, that resonates. Gorgeous.
Yeah, we're just patches, man. We're just totally patches. Yeah.
Love that. Yeah. Thanks, Anna. That's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Take care.
I have Nandini and then Joey after. Nandini, please go ahead.
Hi. It's Nandini or Lindsay. Doesn't matter.
Hey, Lindsay.
Hi. So this last 10 days, things have been appearing that it's almost like the level of intensity has been raised. And the appearances are things like my best friend's mom surprisingly died of COVID. Across the street, the little boy just lost his mom. And over here, this egregious act happened and the people are going to jail. And it's all in 1 week. And these are all things that I've been programmed to think, wow, these are heavy. And, you know, it's much more important than the sunflower I picked yesterday. And I'm watching, you know, there's still observer watching almost like a deer in headlights for these people I care about, the empathy that's coming. But then there's another piece that is this equanimity of just, I'm just the space and I'll be present at these funerals and all that kind of stuff. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the heart empathetic piece. I feels like that's the Migo or whatever you want to call the, you know.
Oh no. So that's what's a misconception, is that there's an ego that controls outside of this. There actually isn't an ego. So empathy still arises. We're not walking around like robots.
I know.
Yeah, there's compassion, there's empathy, but there's not the need for it, in the sense of when we feel like we're a light worker or we're here on a mission and we need to save the world, then we're trying to force compassion. We're trying to force empathy. And if we don't have empathy or compassion, we think, my God, my chakras are broke. I'm a sinner. My karma is awful. What is wrong with me? But compassion arises or it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it still does. It still arises here or it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's not this need to go in and save, and I'm here, come here, baby, blah, blah. But there is
But
this.
there could be cuddling and hugging and maybe baking them food and cards. And
I am doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but then there's this equanimity place that is so pervasive, or that's probably wouldn't have been there 5 years ago.
I see.
Be all consumed with, oh my God, what the fuck? You know, there's that little piece, but I'm just going like this. Okay, see, and just yeah.
It
No,
can't
I'm
be
not-
figured out. It's all divine. All of it is.
I know,
We can't get it wrong
I
or
know.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's almost like a sweet, not bitterness, just yeah.
The codependency falls, and then there's just the aliveness of giving and receiving, so to speak. But there really isn't a giver or a receiver. It's yourself. Yeah.
Thank you, darling.
Thanks, friend.
Joey.
Hi, good morning.
Hey,
Sorry, my
Joey.
neighbor just the moment I started talking, my neighbor started up his lawnmower.
That's awesome. I hear you. You're good. Yeah.
I heard a sentence that you said, and I heard this before, but maybe you can elaborate in a different way about seeking being an addiction. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah. So seeking enlightenment, seeking a lover, seeking new clothes. Seeking is a looking. The looking is self-consciousness. Self-consciousness is an illusion because the looking is saying something is not quite right. Something is missing. And now I'm not saying like looking for your car keys means you're a seeker. That arises naturally. Okay. We're talking about seeking wholeness, seeking fulfillment, seeking who am I? Why am I here? That collapses because seeking stems from the idea, the illusory idea that you have been kicked out of heaven or the garden, or that there's you in divinity, you in God, you in other. Non-duality means not two, so there really isn't another. This is an appearance of two-ness. So the seeking drops when it's recognized that, well, all of this is one unknowable, and it is what you are looking for. It's not actually happening. It's not actually going anywhere. In the dream experience, this is going somewhere. I was born and I will die. And what I do in between those two times is so important. And that's where all the proving and the validation comes in. So
I'm just, because if just this addiction, I guess it's an addiction maybe because there's that constant need for fulfillment and constantly need to fulfill it with something, whether it's spiritual seeking or relationship seeking or money seeking, whatever, drinking,
right,
drugs.
right,
Yeah.
right.
It's just that
right.
there's this endless dissatisfaction that needs to be fed with something. And
Right.
that's the addiction, right?
Right. Yeah.
That can
And
be
that's what
helped.
seems to stop. Yeah, that's what seems to stop. Yeah.
That sounds nice.
But habits can still appear.
Yeah.
I gotta say. Yeah. Even old beliefs can arise. They're just not taken seriously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice beard, by the way.
Thanks. It needs a little cleanup.
It's a little chilly out here. I got hot hands. So excuse my maraca shaking here. Have a little intermission of hot hand shaking. Woo. Okay. Harvey.
Hey, Anna.
Hey.
Hey. Well, first, I want to say I really enjoy the aliveness in your tonality. It's just such a refreshing change, at least for me, the character, to hear from a lot of, I'll call it non-dual teachers or teachings that are very heavy and trying to explain everything from the brain or objectifying mind or putting down language or whatever. So it's very refreshing to
Thanks, Harvey. I appreciate that.
So I wanted to ask, and I don't know too much of the background of your character. I know you've taught before, I think maybe other things in the past. I'm curious, I know just from the character point of view, were there different teachers or teachings, so to speak, that facilitated the, I'll call it, whether it's a shift or the resonance within the character?
So good question. So everything I'm going to share is a story, but at the age of 7, I was raised Catholic, but at the age of 7, I was laying in bed one night and intuitively, I just started saying my name like a mantra. Now, I didn't know what mantras were because I was raised Catholic. You know, it was all Jesus and Mother Mary. So it just was happening. Anna, 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 Anna. All of a sudden, dropping of person. There was just an impersonal seer. I didn't know what that was. Didn't share it with anybody, didn't talk about it. Seeking came back in, AKA beliefs, unworthiness, conditioning. And this character was conditioned in a lot of depression, anxiety, OCD, that kind of energy. And so intuitively from a very young age, I knew that this was heaven. I deeply intuitively knew that. And there would be all kinds of, my God, you know, spiritual experiences, no need to go over those things, but there's what we would call glimpses. But due to the unworthiness and finding YouTube and social media, I started to follow the teachers and the gurus and the psychologies and the therapies, which made me feel a little better, right? You know, anxiety lessened, depression lessened, but there was still seeking. I was still thinking I needed to reach, well, one ascension or enlightenment or God or a higher consciousness or a higher vibration, however we want to call that. But I was fed up. Something within me was saying, this is too much like school. Why are you paying so much? Why are you working so hard? You know, when intuitively I knew it was an innocence. So you could say there was the whole spiritual gambit and circle. Now, 2 characters arose, Tony Parsons and Jim Newman. And basically they were just like, hey, there's no free will. There's no you. This is hopeless. You're never going to find it. And that radical reflection was actually music to my ears, because finally there was a manifestation that was confirming what I knew from a very young age. And from that point, so to speak, meditation stopped, crystals, teachers, books, all of that stuff started to slowly slide off and fall away. And long story short, here we seem to be. Yeah. Wow. Oh, hello. Sorry about that.
You okay?
No, yeah, totally good. I'm just trying to scoot back and my tripod almost knocked over. Here we go. I'm trying to get out of the light's beaming on my eyes, so I'm trying to move around. Keep talking though. Excuse me moving. There we go.
I love your background there. Well, your background is real.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. So it seems.
So, as you go through, I know you have a family, and do you find there's still, you know, for you the I'll call it the stresses of, let's say, raising your child, you have a new baby, and or you still go through all the, or I don't want to say you, but there are still the things that occur.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, if, you know, sleeping in the middle of the night and all of a sudden the baby wakes up and we're like, oh, what's going on? Oh God, I want to be back in bed. You know, all of that natural stuff arises, but what stops is the, oh, why me? Why do I have to wake up and breastfeed or do this or do that? Like that whole narrative drops, but there can be like shuffling the feet with the eyes closed, tripping and, oh, baby, you know, that kind of stuff totally arises. Yeah. And getting puked on. That does too. So it's very natural. Chop wood, carry water, which could appear for you eating cheesecake, drinking coffee, bowling, or golfing. Yeah.
Right. So do you find a sense of like immediacy in experience?
Yes. It's immediacy, or I'd rather just say it's intimate.
Intimate.
It's very, it's very intimate. And when we feel separate, what we want to label the ego, it can't be intimate because it's always distracted.
Right.
It needs to be somewhere else. Yeah.
Right. Well, great. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Harvey. Take care.
You too.
Is it strange to say something again?
No, come on in. Yeah, there's seriously. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you ever, because you talk about your character as having problems with depression and self-worth and stuff, and my character recognizes that, and lately she seems really like pushing life away,
Mm-hmm.
like nothing of interest, nothing of like everything that normally is something that makes her happy is not at all interesting. Like nothing is interesting, and she doesn't even know why she lives.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, that's seen, and because of the trust and the knowing, it's like this acceptance of being so aware of this unawareness, and the same time what it brings to the person or the character. Yeah.
Sounds like it sounds a little bit like the excuse me, like the desert, right? Where it's seen this is meaningless.
Yeah.
Right? There's no point, there's no purpose, which is roll with me, this label sucks. It's more of like a masculine, like a detachment. What we're speaking about here, that's a phase that arose here as well, like F this, there's no point, blah, 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 blah. That can seemingly collapse back into this, where everything is it again. It's watching Netflix, it's sitting here having this conversation, it's folding laundry, it's painting the fingernails. So now there's nothing that's not it. Because when it's like seen in that sense, it's it can be very gray, right? But what we're speaking about is the fullness. It's also the body. It's also what appears as mind and beliefs and personality and quirks and all of that. So we're not denying form at all. We're including form in this. Finally, for a really long time, non-duality was get rid of form, get rid of this, renunciate, change, manipulate. We're saying why? This is all heaven in disguise, folks. All of it already. Even the things we think are taboo or negative or too human or earthly. Well, this is where it hides. It hides in those things we want to label or reject. Just to find out that it's that too.
Like the yin and the yang again.
Yeah. Because again, we're qualityless. So depression, I mean, you wouldn't even know what joy or gratitude was without a flavor of that, so to speak. It's everything. And in isness, or whatever you want to label this unknowable perfection, really doesn't care about long-lasting happiness.
No.
It's beyond those ideas of those fluctuations of emotions. Yeah, sadness can be enjoyable. Weird. I know.
Yeah, everything can be enjoyable if you're aware.
Well, it's not saying aware either, because it depends on how we're using the word aware. Because a lot of the time when we're saying aware, it's a self-consciousness. I'm aware of my depression. I'm aware of my thought forms. I'm aware of this pain, which seems to create a two-ness, the observer effect. That observer collapses into an intimacy and a seamlessness.
Yeah. Yeah, and then in nothing, you get poof again.
You see? Because a lot of the times depression can seem to arise when there's like a stagnation of what am I supposed to be doing? Who am I,
you want to do it with your mind again. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks again.
I mean, and truly, I mean, my God, wouldn't a rose be depressed if it was trying to be like an echinacea? You know, or trying to be like a hollyhock? That's the whole thing with the self-consciousness. It can only compare.
Yeah.
And in that
Yeah.
comparison, my God, of course it feels like depression. But there's nothing wrong with that because that's the play divinity is playing as comparison until it's seen by God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that when I was watching a tree and it had like 2 branches broken, and I all of a sudden realized like the tree doesn't care, and it is yeah, it's still there, and same.
Yeah.
Like,
Same with the chicken coming by here. You know, hey
yeah.
man, what's up, Leo? It doesn't give a damn. It is itself naturally. Is itself naturally. I mean, he'll probably walk by, drop a deuce here in a second. It doesn't care because it's just it's itself.
Yeah, it's
It's
not afraid.
itself. Yes,
Of
yes.
being itself also. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a very human part.
And that's okay. There is nothing
Yeah.
wrong with being human. And like I said, we're not going to get rid of humanism. I mean,
No, that's right.
it's finally the fullness of human being. If we look at that human being, beingness is appearing as a human already. Already. So I like to say we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you again.
Thank you.
We have Joey and Ian and then Una. Joey, go ahead.
So I have a question about the sense of beingness, like, because I hear sometimes Andreas Muller talk about that there's no beingness, actually. There's no sense of beingness. That's what dies. But then sometimes you hear some people talk about beingness and then it gets a little bit confusing.
It's just a word pointing to that which can't be named.
Okay.
Yeah, you can use aliveness if you like. Energy. No word will do.
Yeah.
I'm interchanging isness, beingness, nothing. Yeah, it's completely unknowable. It doesn't matter what you call it either because it doesn't have a mind. So that's also good.
Yeah,
We can
just
relax.
The
Yeah.
beingness has this connotation of like existence or something, maybe.
You can use aliveness if that sits
Okay.
better. Yeah.
I guess it really does. Thanks.
Thanks, Joey. Ian, go ahead, please. And then we have Una One and then Cricket Lee.
Thanks. I got 2 questions. Number one is, can the need to change stop arising without some degree of pain, like emotional, psychological discontent?
Are you asking, does pain need to happen for this to be seen?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely not. Nothing is needed for this. It already is this. So why would pain need to arise? But if you think pain needs to arise, funny enough, that's what will appear because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you think you need teachers, you need meditations, you need pain, pain will appear. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy as long as there's a believer there. Now, once the believer, the lie is gone, there's no need for shit. Pain can appear, but it's not needed for something. It's just life appearing as pain. That's already the case. But we as humans, when we feel separate, we need a purpose. Pain is teaching me something. It's molding me into a better person or whatever the story is. But this actually doesn't need anything. It already is itself appearing as pain.
Would you say in most cases pain is required or precedes this?
Oh, I don't think you heard me. It's not needed at all. Nothing's needed. It already is this. Nothing can precede this because time is not real. And when that's heard, it's game over. There's no time. There's no you. There's only life appearing as a you. So how are you going to get closer to this if time's not real?
Question number 2, can you go into how time is not real?
It's an appearance. It appears real. It's a mental construct. And what we're talking about is what we would say lets or gives rise to mind. We literally can't even have this conversation without what we call the eternal light or the unknowable. This is the unknowable appearing as knowing, timelessness appearing as time. Your mind won't get this. Even if I give you a really good answer, it may hold as a philosophy, but that's still not it. This is intuitive because what you are is already here. It doesn't need the breakdowns. It already is it. It's already naturally confident, whole, doesn't live in doubt, guilt, or shame. But if those arise, so what? It is this. It is itself, naturally. But that's hard for the mind to hear because the mind lives always in an empty bowl. It's never full. What we're speaking about is full and empty simultaneously.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Uno one. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, and I'm really happy to hear what you have to say. But I was in a car accident in '96, and I suffered with chronic pain. And so it's very hard for me to see how this is heaven.
Oh, not heaven in the sense of
Yeah.
religion's
No,
depiction
I
of heaven.
understand that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that even when you say that this is it. So
It
to
never,
me-
it can't be to the mind because the mind lives in expectation of what this should be like. It lives in the belief of what its life should be. It lives in the idea of it has a life. We're not trying to sell a better experience here. We're saying pain can totally appear. Cancer can appear. COVID can appear. Anything can appear. A plane can hit me right now and I could die, seemingly. So we're not trying to create some kind of safety bubble for someone. We're saying this is free fall already. This is life full on. But the hell that we are taught and told about really is just mental structures and beliefs of expectation, because I shouldn't be in pain. This shouldn't be happening, which is an arrogance. It's not wrong, but it's the only thing that the mind can do. This should not be happening to me. Why?
Yeah.
Then there's a whole list of why it shouldn't be happening to me. And now we're in a story. So pain can totally appear. Aliveness of pain can appear, and the tears can appear as well. And maybe going to a doctor or Tylenol also can arise, but it's not for someone. So what stops appearing is the narrative. The why is this happening to me? Did I do something wrong? No. No one's done anything wrong. No one's to blame and no one's to forgive. This doesn't make sense at all.
It doesn't make any sense. And so how does the mind, well, you say the mind doesn't get it. So is it just that you hear this enough times that it's a realization? Or
what can seem to happen is the mind gives up. It goes belly up because what you are already is. But the mind's rooted in time of progression, or something needs to change, and change can happen, but we're just speaking about the need for it to happen, the sabotaging of life for someone to feel a certain way, because that's what the person is trying to live in. I need to be happy. I need to feel this way. But anything can appear. Anything can appear here. It's full on. Yeah.
So what is there anything I can do?
Well, I mean, of course there's doing already. I mean, right now we're talking, but we're not choosing our words. The dream is I'm choosing my words. There is no you and there is no me. This is one speaking to itself. This is a monologue. And if there's pain there, like I said, there could be going to a doctor. There can be going to therapies. I can't say, but just because there's pain doesn't have anything to do with enlightenment or you being broken. There is only enlightenment or totality appearing as pain or no pain, a seeker or no seeker, cancer or no cancer, and there is no hierarchy. This is equality. But when we live in spiritual illusions, we think, well, if I have cancer or if I have this doesn't mean heaven or paradise. What I mean by heaven and paradise is an innocence. Like kids, they can be in pain and cry. It washes away very quickly because there's no narrative of good and bad. There's no narrative of an intense center piece of me that it's happening to. So in heaven and paradise, pain appears. There's not a victim consciousness. That's the heaven I'm talking about. There's no self-consciousness. Self-consciousness is an illusion.
Okay.
So that's why it's hard to explain and describe.
Yeah, and so the victim consciousness, it falls away on its own. It's not, I can't do anything to make that happen.
Well, it's just seen through, and victim consciousness can still arise, but it's not taken seriously or personally.
Okay, and then how does that change the chronic pain?
Oh, chronic pain may not change. There still may be chronic pain until the apparent end of that character's story, or there may not be. Pain has nothing to do with what we're speaking about here. But in the dream illusion is, if I get rid of pain, now I'm enlightened. That's a fallacy. Pain is not saying anything about who you really are. Because we're not actually females. You know that, yeah? We're not pain either. Those are appearances. Yeah.
I don't know that. Yeah.
Well, it's intuitively. Intuitively, you know this. What I speak to and from, you know this. It'd be absolute arrogance for me to sit here and tell you I know more than you. I am you. You hear yourself. And your heart knows this. And I don't mean like your physical or your heart chakra. I mean the heart of what is.
Yeah, because certainly when you speak, it resonates.
Yeah.
It resonates.
Yeah. And there can be like this turbulence of but. And all that is beliefs being poked. Those are just beliefs being poked at. Because the only thing that can die is a belief. And we are not that.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that can get really kind of stirred up and irritated. And that's okay.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting because we're conditioned, as you said, from very young, right? Because I even know my 6-year-old granddaughter, if she does something, she knows that wasn't right, she'll say, "Oh, I'm bad. You hate me."
Oh.
And you can sort of see the conditioning.
And that's what seems to arise. No one's fault. That's the beloved appearing as conditioning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll just keep listening and hopefully it'll wash over. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cricket Lee, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi. Good to see you, Anna.
Hey. Excuse me here as I take my bubble gum out. There we go.
Sure.
Hi.
Well, I don't personally participate in politics, but as the one world order expands into our homes and in requirements and things that don't particularly agree with, I'm just interested because it seems to me like there might need to be, or my character tends to want to go hide on the beach or somewhere instead of participating in the US and what's happening. I know it's already gotten pretty onerous in Australia and so forth in Britain. So how do you be with that? Like, do you just exist and know that you're going to be okay? I've always thought I'd be in the right place at the right time. And until I'm ready to go, I wouldn't be in some kind of disaster or so forth. So,
well, anyway. I got to say, the interest in the world fizzles. The importance in the world fizzles when this is seen through, excuse me, because world is mind, mind is world, as well as time. So really what we think is our world is our own imagination.
Okay.
So this goes against the grain of everything. So what you're describing is your personal play. There really is no world outside of here. The world arises as it arises. But as we speak about the one world order or these different countries, those are appearances. Things aren't actually happening. They appear to be. Now, of course, if you seemingly walk into your living room, there's a TV on and there's news broadcasting, that's what's appearing. But that's an immediacy to what is. But we think in the dream, oh, everyone knows this is happening. This is everyone's reality. No, it's not. This doesn't make sense. So the appearance of COVID can appear, and there can be putting on masks, not putting on masks. All of these ideas of good and bad totally collapse because the person is what's living in the frightened corner. And there's nothing wrong with that because that's totality appearing as the person trying to figure all of this out. But there is no free will or choice. There really is no other who's trying to manipulate or control anything. If we're really hearing this, there is no other. There is only this mystery that's appearing as this mirage.
So if there's like a corporate blanket requirement and you don't want to participate in that particular requirement, then it's just time for you to leave that.
It may be, yeah. It's either the
corporation.
character
Yeah.
goes with it or the character doesn't. There's no choice in it. Same with vaccines, same with bus passes, same with coloring your hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong to it, but obviously there's an inclination for the character.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an
So-
old hippie. I've been studying all this stuff for 40 years, so I kind of see what's going on. But, there again, it's my character.
Well, again, too, the
and,
40 years isn't real. 40 years of studying isn't real. It's arising in and as this now, but there really wasn't 40 years. It's so strange. But that whole backpack of the 40 years of whatever it is, studying medical philosophy, conspiracies, or spirituality, all of it collapses to this.
Yeah, I see what you're saying because I know that I was into all the meditation, studying all the religions for years and crystals and blah, 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 blah. And when people say Mercury retrograde, I'm like, yeah, you created Mercury. So it's like, I don't buy into that. I mean, all that stuff is fallen away from me now, but I see that. So I guess I don't need to do anything, but I guess just noticing that it's just a preconditioned thought that I can release would be very freeing for me.
Well, if we could release it, we totally would, right? Just like everyone would let go if they could or surrender. But that's just what's happening. That's just totality appearing as a belief that there's a one world order and I need to make a right or wrong choice or hide or not hide. There's still going to be preferences. There's still preferences, Cricket. Preferences to be here, not here. There's preferences for the character. Those preferences don't turn into sabotage.
Say that again.
The preferences of the character do not turn into sabotage. So there's still preferences.
So what do you mean they don't turn into sabotage? Explain that a little bit.
So, for example, let's say the character has a preference to not wear a mask. Going into one of your favorite shops, it's mandatory to wear a mask. There's no one who's going to go into a hissy fit or a tantrum. The mask will be worn into the shop or the character just leaves. No sabotage. It's that's it.
Pretty simple.
Mask is worn or it's very simple,
Yeah,
very
okay.
immediate, very straightforward. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's good. Okay.
Thanks, Cricket. Good to see you again. Yeah.
Good to see you too.
Thank you, Cricket. I have a question here from Trisha, and then I'm going to go into Susan. Trisha asked, it feels important for this character to find a partner who also has an interest in self-realization. But does this really matter? Thanks.
Oh, absolutely not. No, of course it can be hindrances if, there's like the one you're into or your romantic partner is like on a spiritual path or is trying to seek something. Obviously that can seem to create turbulence, but nobody has to be a certain way for this at all. Nobody even needs to hear about this. That's a strange thing. It's very much chop wood, carry water. Now, obviously, it's beautiful if there's a resonance and there's a similarity in communicating about this, but it's not needed like religion or spirituality. No needing go door to door. You don't have to change, but the character could change. Nothing's needed, but it could appear. Romance still appears, totally, guys.
Susan, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. So I know there's no individual, and as such, it's all, you could say, one, or it's divine, or it's unknown, whatever it is that's showing up like this. That's cute.
Suzanne. It's cute.
And so if from the individual's point of view, there is no meaning or purpose. I can see that because there's not even a free will. So how can there, there's no time or space for that sake. So yeah, there's, but is there that unknown, ultimate, divine, whatever we call it, that's showing up like this? Is there some meaning or purpose from that point of view?
I get what you're saying. You had it backwards. For the individual, meaning and purpose go hand in hand. For this, it doesn't matter. Purpose can appear, it's just not needed. Desires can appear, it's just not needed. Meaning can appear, not needed. And even if meaning does appear, it's not serious. It's not a nail in the coffin, like this is the end all be all. It's play, like Play-Doh. All of this is Play-Doh.
Yeah.
Not serious, meaningly. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm just, so there's nothing about evolution of some kind.
Oh, evolution appears, totally. Like I say, the show goes on, a story still appears, evolution appears, but it's an appearance. It's not linear.
Right. Yeah.
But when we're separate, evolution's important, right? Because I'm trying to bring forth the golden age, or I need to wake up all of humanity. We need to evolve to be the best human. This message is really saying this is already harmony. The harmony could shift and mold into a dark age or a golden age. It doesn't matter because this form is ephemeral.
Yeah. Okay, it's so if we get, let's say we go extinct because of climate change or war or whatever. Yeah. So then that's just what happens. And I don't know. I mean, it just seems like, should we just keep playing out how we've done for the last 100 years and just keep, it doesn't really matter with climate change or.
Well, we're not saying it doesn't matter. The person will take this and keep it in the mind and make it nihilistic, like nothing matters anymore. Throw in the dish towel. Oh, we're saying form is formlessness. So there could be picking up litter. There could be starting organizations, donations. I mean, why would anything need to change? If a character is driven to help the planet, that's probably what's going to happen. If the character just likes to watch Netflix all day, that's maybe what's going to happen. But now let's say the character isn't a martyr. It's just a joy to help pick up trash. It's a joy to help save the oceans. It's play. It's not real. But why not? Why not do that? Why not do that? But you see, when we feel separate, it's a purpose thing. Well, I need to be here for some reason. I need to prove myself, validation, because this life is really important. There is only liberation. So whether that's seen within the body or not, you end up in liberation. There is only that. So this is a very short, it's like a chapter in a book, so to speak. Yeah. It's a never-ending story. Yeah.
And a never-ending story. Yeah. So just be who you are, right? We hear that a lot. Be yourself, be who you are. In non-duality, you hear that. And that's basically, just be who you are. You feel like picking up the litter, do that. If you feel like watching Netflix, do that.
Yeah, it's just what's going to happen is going to happen. But if there is a sense of separation, let's say the character may not be able to relax enough to just watch Netflix. It'll think, well, I should be meditating instead. Checklists first. There's always something to be done. But you could say there's a natural relaxation when this is seen and the character is naturally celebrated. It actually comes more online. So now there could be watching Netflix, but without the commentary of, oh, get up. You shouldn't be doing this. Do something with your life. All of that kind of stuff falls away and there's just watching Netflix. Or there's typing emails or this conversation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what about creativity? Because somewhere, even, the intuition you talk about, it feels creative somehow.
Totally. Yeah, totally. But it doesn't have to be because that's a character trait. Some characters, that's why it's like, The same message can come through, but there's a different flavor. This is really jazz handsy. If you listen to another character, it may sound completely different. You see, it's the one source appearing as a myriad of expressions. Or I'd like to use the orchestra example. We're all an orchestra. There's only one breath, but obviously a flute is going to sound way different than a clarinet or a piccolo. Yeah. But the breath's invisible. The breath's invisible, but you hear the tone. And the tone we can fall in love with, and that's the romance, and that's the beloved and the adoration, but you're never going to know the breath. You are the breath. This is just an instrument.
Yes, I was actually going to ask about that too. Like, because it seems like the truth of a human being, it's like, you can also say we are a vessel. A body is a vessel. It's like an instrument.
I'd rather not say it's a vessel, because that would be like somebody entered into it. So all words are suspicious. This is literally formlessness appearing as form. It's not holding something. It's not like a container for milk or water or honey, like a pot. It is it. It is it. It is it. Already. Yeah. Not holding. You say dancing, prancing, frolicking. It's this. It's the chicken.
Yeah. And so when the body dies, you could say the instrument is gone.
Oh yeah, characters dissolve, and there can be mourning of that. That's a natural emotion.
Yeah.
But what's to say? There's nothing to say after death, because there isn't an after death. This is death already. This is life and death simultaneously.
Right.
This is the afterlife, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just life keeps coming, shows up. You know, as long as we're breathing and the heart is beating, life shows up. And when the heart stops beating, there's just no appearance. Yeah. Or yeah.
We can't say. Really can't. Yeah.
Yeah. Or it could be a different appearance or whatever.
Because,
yeah, but that's
because who's to say you're really here already? How is this any different than a dream at night?
Well, the only difference is that there's no appearance when you're dreaming at night or you're sleeping. Yeah. There's no appearance.
Well, but there can be an appearance. There can be an appearance of a dream, right?
In a dream, but not in deep sleep, right? In deep sleep is just
right.
Yeah.
It's unknowable, but it appears as knowing simultaneously.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
Mike, please go ahead.
Hi, Anna.
Hey, Mike.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for sharing your message. I've been looking into non-duality for about 3-4 years. And recently I'm really confused because I was doing different practices, meditations, self-inquiry, and I thought that it would help me to see through the illusion. But then I started hearing your message, Tony Parsons, that there is nothing that you can do to see through it, and it either happens or doesn't happen by itself. Can you please help me sort it out?
Yes, it's already this. So the idea that you need to find something is just that, an idea. It's a belief. We were all subjected to that, seemingly, of finding something or becoming. But in the story, we are all beingness. Babies are pure beingness. Look at a baby. There is nobody home, right? But there are sensations. There's aliveness going on there. There's a naturalness. You see, they haven't been convoluted by your name tag. You're a female. This is what you should do and become. That's the story. That's the dream.
Okay,
but that's
so
already, yeah, go ahead.
how do I get rid of it then?
You can't. How do you get rid of what you already are?
No, of the story.
Oh, But that's totality appearing as a story. Why would we need to get rid of it? That's fulfillment appearing as a story. That's the fallacy. The idea is I should not be a person. I shouldn't have a story.
No, I just want to know who I truly am.
You won't, not who's speaking. What's asking the question is a mental structure and time. What you are already is. It's unknowable. It can't know itself. It is itself. Again, just like a cat doesn't need to know it's a cat, it is. In fact, a cat doesn't even know it is a cat. We call it that.
Okay, so all those practices are useless, basically.
Well, I mean, if you're wanting to lessen anxiety or if you're practicing yoga, you may get tone. Yeah, but all the while your totality appearing as yoga or meditation or mantraing, it won't bring you closer to this. But it can seem to like, what is it like? Give up the energies of mind. Like it's for the mind. All practices are for the person. And it's just like, oh my God, it's like, oh my God, this is bullshit. Why do I keep doing this? Why am I constantly doing the same thing over and over again? Only to recognize I am already what I'm looking for. I am already what I'm trying to practice.
How do I recognize it?
You won't. It's intuitive. The mind won't. The mind seems to give up. It just fizzles out. It dies. It gets done with the bullshit, so to speak. It gets done with this.
Okay, so you can say the purpose of the practice to make
there's
the
no
mind
purpose to
try
it.
as much as possible and give up at the end. And when the mind gives up, somehow it happens.
That's what arose here. That doesn't always have to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. Yeah. The mind just seems to pop like a soap bubble.
But it needs a lot of attempts to pop
Oh,
up.
it doesn't. That's what it would say. It doesn't need anything. This isn't needed because this is already totality appearing as a mind, totality appearing as a practice. You're biting your tail.
Okay. Another question I had, what controls attention?
It's a mystery. That's what we're talking about here. It's unknowable. It's not the brain. It's not the mind.
It's not the mind?
No, the mind actually doesn't exist. AKA the person doesn't exist. AKA separation, AKA duality, AKA time. There is no doer. There is no chooser. That's why this is unknowable. It's an unknowable perfection. It can't be known through something that is fictitious in time. How does something that's finite understand infinity? You see the predicament?
Yeah.
Yeah. But beautifully, infinity is appearing as the finite. Already.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Uno one, unmute yourself, and then we have Raphael, and then we have a question from Nikki.
Yeah, so I wondered, Anna, if you could speak to like the character living in integrity.
Oh, that would just be the personal experience. I need to be in integrity. I heard that all the time on the path. When I was seeking, when there was seeking going on here, integrity, integrity, integrity.
Yeah.
Which is be an upright citizen. Be like this. Don't do that. Right?
Yeah. I read this whole thing about like, say, people pleasing.
Yeah, that too. Be an integrity. Be a doormat. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that?
So I don't. That's what stopped arising, was how do I deal with this? What do I do about that? Because that's stemming from the idea that I'm choosing. I'm the controller. There's a right or wrong way to go.
Okay.
That collapses and there's a spontaneous choice or speaking or whatever's arising. This.
Okay. So you're never judging yourself, this character. your character doesn't judge at all.
Judgment can arise. There's no judgment of this character or a projection onto others. Old habits, old thoughts, old judgments can appear. Not interesting.
Okay, so as these old habits appear, how do you, like, so at the beginning, like, as these old habits started to appear, how did you just say I'm not interested, or?
Oh, well, there's never been a me. The illusion of seeking is I need to do something with these thoughts and emotions. That's the dream of duality. You don't need to do anything with thoughts or emotions. Why would you need to? That's the whole fallacy to begin with. There's thoughts and emotions, and I need to categorize them. Welcome to hell.
Yes.
Thoughts are aliveness appearing as thoughts. Emotions is aliveness appearing as emotions. For no reason. They're not coming for you going, hey, knock, knock, knock. Hey, anger's here today. What are you going to do with me? Oh, knock, knock, knock. Hey, grief is here today. I'm testing you. What are you going to do with me? It's not, that's a dream. It's just a live energy like fireworks. Back to the void they go. They are the void, appearing as a light show.
Okay, so when this understanding happened for you, then so anger would arise, and it just was so it just arose, or grief just arose.
Yeah, it's just a live energy, and it could last longer than, say, when you are seeking, because there's not someone trying to suppress it or get rid of it. So it can be really loud and raw and alive, but short. Because now there's not someone going, okay, anger means low vibration. Do something with it. Hold it in. Go hide, you know?
Okay. Oh, so much conditioning around that. And,
yeah, anger finally is able to be expressed. You see, because when we live in separation, there's file cabinets for our emotions.
Absolutely. And then so there's no resistance then. So anger arises and no resistance.
You could say that, but there can definitely be what one may label as a resistance. Like if pain or something arises, there can be tension. The muscles can contract or something like that. But I wouldn't call that a mental resistance. I would just say that physical resistance. Mental resistance is the pushback. This shouldn't be happening. Get away. But if there's a physicality, there may be a, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's allowed to be. It's allowed to be, just like the sky allows all weather. You know? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Raphael, please go ahead.
Hi.
Hey.
So my question is about the self-fulfilling prophecy that you've mentioned a few times, because my mind wants to connect it to you create your own reality type thing. And I wonder if you could expand on that a little bit.
When this is seen, it's seen the whole gambit of seeking never really happened. So the whole self-fulfilling prophecy never really happened either. It pops literally like a dish soap bubble, game over. Oh my God. Chop wood, carry water. So within the dream of seeking, it seems like all of those things are actually happening. It's really real. I'm creating my reality. It's not happening. But as long as there's questions, and as long as someone feels separate, there's going into the storybook of time, which seems like those things are real. They're not. So even the apparent experience of a self-fulfilling prophecy or I create my reality is Leela. It's a light show. It's an optical illusion.
Yeah, I kind of find it fun the way it's like sometimes when I look back, it seems kind of funny or entertaining or I don't know, but I'm more often seeing how many things that have come by have been more spontaneous or instant, I guess. So it doesn't really have to do with what you've been holding in your mind or anything though.
No, this is fresh. Like it's beginner's mind. Like you don't know what's going to happen. For the mind, that's super scary. For this, it's like, ooh, cool. You know?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question here from Nikki. Nikki goes, can you talk about God, the Bible, and the story of Jesus? Was it? Did it?
Was it? Did it? Well, it's a story, the Bible. This is God. If you want to use that word, it's this, it's everything. But it's also cow shit and suffering. It's everything. And Jesus did speak about this. But there's many gospels that are omitted from the Bible, like the Gospel of Thomas, that were pointing what we're saying right now. This is it. This is home. Isn't it written, ye are gods? Jesus said that. But, you know, if mind hears this, if a person hears this, it's turned into a religion. It's turned into a path or a right or wrong way to be. But you could say we're all Jesus. But in the human saga of time, sure, there was an apparent person named Jesus, which, you know, if we want to go into the history and the science, they did find a man named Jesus who lived around that time. Of course. Did he look like the Western pictures? Absolutely not. Of course not. He was like 5 foot tall and brown. So the story goes. But there is no Father, Son, all that kind of stuff. That's all a story. You could say you are the Father, you are the Son, the Holy Ghost. Or this is the Alpha and the Omega already. Don't tell the Christians that, though. It may not go over so well. But you see, even Christians or Hindus or Sikhs or whatever the religion is, it's liberation appearing as a religion. It's not wrong.
Susan, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, I was thinking there's another expression, you are in the world, but not of the world. Mm-hmm. That kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
So you could also say, because as you said earlier, the mind is the world, it projects the world, or, you know, it's well. So if your mind changes, I know there's no one there to change it, but let's just say it happens that the mind changes, then your world changes too. But it does anyways. Yeah, it appears to change. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it changes all the time anyways. Right? I mean, and because there's no time, so there's actually no change as such either, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This obviously, like, there is a progression that appears. This may turn gray and old, start hunching over. That can appear. But what gives life to that is whole, unmoving, untouched, was never born, but appears as being born and appears as death. It appears as the baby and the elderly, but is untouched by those appearances. That's what Jesus was talking about, which is also, I am human, but not attached and codependent with the traits or the story of human. I am in this world. I operate, chop wood, carry water. None of it comes with me. I'm not bowing to this. I'm not trying to find who I am through this. I am all of this seamlessly and simultaneously. So I like to say it's having your cake and eating it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're also kind of participatory in your world in that way, that whatever shows up, it depends on how you observe it somehow.
Well,
doesn't it?
That would still come from the idea that you're choosing how to observe.
Yeah. So you're not choosing it, but the one is, using you as a
You could say that
point
as
of
long as
view.
one feels separate, it's the me and divine, me and divinity. But what I'm
Yeah.
really saying is divinity is appearing as you right here, right now. There's not a gap. Or you could just say there's
Right.
only a gap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like you're making the ice cream and eating at the same time. Or yeah, it's so instantaneous that it's
ungraspable. Yeah.
yeah.
It's like picking up sand and it's falling through the hands.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's when it's like life is just like, fuck it, and dives into the sand, just woo, let's play. It's play. It's not serious. Just like kids who are building sandcastles. It's not serious. Yeah, it all washes to the just one beach. It's all one beach. Of course, it can look like all these elaborate sandcastles. Ooh, mine's bigger than yours. Who gives a shit? It's all isness appearing as the diversity. We take none of this with us. We are dust. Jesus said that too. To dust you start, to dust you go back, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then that's where you can say the fun starts. It doesn't really, but it's like there's no that chokehold of, oh my God, I gotta be good. I gotta do the right thing. I need to make something of myself. All of that just collapses into the natural character, which could be very wild and loud or very reserved and introvert. But finally, being introvert is not wrong, or being loud is not wrong. It just is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
I have Nikki. Just a reminder, we have 2 minutes left for this session.
Hi. So I'm now like my mind and me is like in conflict going, but I'm helping people to allow themselves to just accept themselves and to be, and that is what I feel like I'm here to do and I love doing and I enjoy doing. But then I'm like, but that's they already can be that. And so I feel like I'm filling a void that's not even there. So now I'm in conflict of going like, but I'm getting like that whole but like, help.
Yeah, it's totally okay. In the story of Anna, this used to be a spiritual teacher teaching self-love, meditation, all that kind of stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. There was no choice. You're not choosing to do that. You see? And that will either carry on or it won't. It may morph into a more simplicity, not a codependency. Yeah. I can't say what's going to appear, but
and it is already appearing as that. Like even in the conversations with the people, it's like I didn't think about those things that were going to come through. They just came through in that moment. I don't get on a call and think about or plan like Nikki used to. It's just it just is and was and kind of bringing them to that place of like, well, that could be okay. Why is that wrong? It's not wrong. It's not right. It is.
Right. So it's like, why would your occupation need to change? Now, like, for example, if there was like a character like this teaching spirituality, like a path to enlightenment, of course that may collapse because it's seen through. That whole lie, that whole belief, that whole gambit is seen through. But it doesn't mean that there's still not, if you're a yoga teacher or you are a preschool teacher, like that doesn't continue on. It just continues on with a different flavor and energy. Much more simple. Much more simple. And that codependent stuff kind of just bleh. Because a lot of beings.
That's where I'm at. Yeah. Saying that. I'm not your guru. I'm not your teacher. I'm just, I am. Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Okay.
Right. Yeah. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nikki.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Anna. We're going to take a 2-hour break. That was wonderfully nothing and absolutely everything.